Hey guys, my name is Matteo, and today I wanted to share a game that I have quickly become addicted to, and that is Red Orchestra 2. A lot of you actually recommended this game to me, since I made it abundantly clear that I love insurgency, I love that hyper-realistic gameplay. A lot of you said that's essentially what Red Orchestra is all about, but on a larger scale. One thing that took me by surprise is that 64 people on a server, exactly like Battlefield. That's one awesome point. But also, it's a World War II game, but with that hyper-realistic gameplay. And so I decided to give it a whirl, and admittedly, for the first couple of hours, I was not enjoying the game at all. And what it really came down to was I just did not understand what the game was going for or how I was supposed to approach combat. This is not your Call of Duty or Battlefield in the slightest, where you are playing as a super soldier with pinpoint-like accuracy with all of your movement. Your soldier has weight to it. Everything that you do feels a little clunky. You aim down sight, it's gonna take you a while to get those crosshairs up. You move around while aiming down sight, it's gonna be bouncing around like a madman. They were clearly going for a realistic or authentic feel for their combat. Like, if you go into this assuming that you can just Rambo it by running and gunning everywhere, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening. And that's essentially what my first couple of hours were like. I mean, I don't want to say that I was trying to Rambo or anything like that, but it did take me a while to get acclimated to the controls because it's clear that they wanted to slow things down and they wanted to really go for that authentic and realistic type of combat. What I love about it though is that once you do get used to the system, it is an absolute blast. One thing that I loved about it is that flanking is incredible in this game. There is no minimap to speak of, and the result of this is that if you are able to get just a flawless flank off, you will have some of the most intense kill streaks that you will experience in any video game because it honestly feels like you are in this setting. I mean, every single time you have to reload, it is so intense. Like, there were moments when I see like 3 or 4 people cross the road. I took out a few of them just before. They didn't realize I was there, and then I'm just going through that really lengthy reload animation. It takes a long time, once again, because they're going for that hyper-realism, and I'm just sweating bullets. Like, my heart is pounding. I finally get it up and running, and then I take each and every single one of them out. You don't really experience that in many first-person shooters. I mean, sure, every so often, maybe you can have a moment like this in the Battlefield franchise if you're going against some enemies that don't really know what they're doing and aren't all that great at checking out their minimap every couple of seconds. But in general, just simply because of the mechanics of modern-day first-person shooters, these types of scenarios just don't pop up because the gameplay and just the mechanics of the titles don't work into that format. But in Red Orchestra 2, and I would also say this is true for games like Insurgency, God, when you get that amazing flank off and you're able to take advantage of it, it is some of the most rewarding experiences that you can have in a first-person shooter, and really in gaming in general. Another thing I love about it are the maps themselves. Admittedly, it does take some time to get used to them. Once again, because you don't have a minimap to lean on, it can be difficult just to figure out where the enemy is going to be coming from or where you should be pointing your gun. But once you do get adjusted to all of the maps, they are fantastic. I should mention that I was mainly focusing on the Rising Storm DLC, which didn't have any vehicles. It was pretty much all infantry focused, but I think all of the maps there were rush style. So if you played Battlefield, you would feel right at home, where you and your team, if you're on offense, need to push up onto the objectives. You don't arm an MCOM or anything like that. You just sit there, and if you have enough people, you will capture it for your team, and then you can progress to the next capture point. I love Rush in the Battlefield franchise, and it saddens me that in Battlefield 4, and admittedly even in Battlefield 3, Rush was more of an afterthought. Like, especially in Battlefield 4, like, a lot of the maps just do not function well with that game mode. But in Red Orchestra 2, it is phenomenal. And simply because of the way that the maps are laid out, and because of the way that you spawn in as a group, so kind of wave-based, it really does make you feel like you are an invading army or defending against just a swarm of enemies that are constantly trying to get into your trenches and take you out. It is seriously phenomenal. One thing that I did find a little disappointing though is that they restrict you very heavily on how many people can be playing a given class at any given time. There's a wide assortment of classes. You have the engineer, there is the sniper, the light mortar, I think there's an assault, and then there is the rifleman. pretty much everyone's gonna be playing as the Rifleman. And not because it's overpowered, I mean, it's the bread and butter of Red Orchestra 2, but simply because all of the other roles have a limit to how many people on your team can be playing as them. Only 2 people, pretty much on most maps, can be a sniper. I think that only 5, around 5, can be playing as the assault. They have these really large restrictions, and so the vast majority of people are gonna be Riflemen. And while playing as the Rifleman is a hell of a lot of fun, pretty much everything that you guys are seeing in today's video, I am playing as that class, but it would have been nice if there was more diversity there. Like, I would have liked to try out all of the different classes, but every time I joined a server, I pretty much just had to play as that one kit. So a little disappointing. The one thing that I did like about it though is that I think overall it made the game more well balanced. Since you can only have 2 people playing as the sniper, that means you're not going to be constantly getting shot at by a million different snipers in the backfield. This is an issue that you see in a lot of modern first-person shooters. Battlefield is a culprit because the developers gave everyone the tools to customize their character or play the role however they want. And so if you have a round that has 50% of your team as a sniper and you're playing on rush, it can lead to some very frustrating moments. And so overall, I think the system benefits from these restrictions, but I think it just would have been nice if it wasn't as restrictive as it was, where pretty much all the time you're going to be playing as the Rifleman. But overall, if it wasn't clear enough, I love Red Orchestra 2, and especially the Rising Storm DLC. It seriously is one of my favorite World War II games of all time. That hyper-realistic type of gameplay, getting into those situations where you are behind enemy lines and taking everyone out, seriously is one of the most enjoyable experiences that I've had in a first-person shooter in a long time. It takes what Insurgency does really, really well, brings it into the World War II setting, expands upon it, makes it 64 players, and just nails it out of the park. I love it, and honestly, if this looks appealing to you, I highly recommend that you give it a try. I think it's on sale for Steam right now. I think like the last time I checked, it was 50% off. So if this looks appealing, and it should, or you just love hyper-realistic type of combat, I recommend that you give this a whirl. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you would like to see more Red Orchestra 2 content from me. Is this appealing? Do you like these types of videos? Let me know down below. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.